Rule number 3 is the Ethernet gateway. Modbus is out since 1979 and it is the easiest protocol which is very widely used in OEM panels, especially with the serial interface over the RS-232 or RS-485, which well known as the Modbus RTU. And with the rapid increase of industrial networks, we need to put those data on Ethernet. That's why we have the gateways, which is simply serial to Ethernet converters. And I think I have two examples here. This is the old AGX 100 from Schneider, gateway from the Modbus RTU to the Modbus TCP. And this is the new version, the AGX 150, which is looking much better with loaded with very nice features like the dual port and supporting the RSTP. So the question is, what is the added value of M221 in this situation? Rather than using the gateways and whenever you have limited connections, simply you can use the M221 like what we see in the sites inside the generator building. We are using the M221 to have integration with Modbus RTU to the generator controllers and some IOs like breakers, alarms, and other equipment. And here you should remember the previous video's discussion where we said the M221 is having a Modbus, the Modbus serial port. So the CPU is having serial and Ethernet port, which is an added value or feature for the hardware over the S7-1200 as we discussed earlier. And one point here to consider, that the cost of the M221 is cheaper than the gateway itself.
Tell me how you feeling when you hear the lyric, yeah. My heart's in Stockholm. Now I never wanna go home.
And this is a clear example of the flexibility of the solution. An extra point here worth mentioning. Sometimes I'm using this PLC as a data concentrator, because if you browse the integration document or any Modbus list for connection with OEM panels or whatever, or even power meters, generators, you will find there is a gaps between the memory areas. Like, for example, I have the address 40,001, and just like I will not consider the function codes, which is the 4. So you have address 1 and then address 5. I need the data between 1 and 5, and then I need the data between 150 or 145 and 150. So there is a huge gap between the data I need in the top of the stack and in the bottom. So here is two situations. Either you read 150 address just to get 5 address at the top and 5 address at the bottom, or you have to use 2 function blocks or 2 scanner lines. And the problem here is each scanner line is creating a TCP connection, which is creating a load in the master PLC and the network as well. So using the M221, because it's a PLC, you can rearrange or remap these data in a proper sequence. So you have only 10 addresses, and rather than the master PLC will have a 2 connection per device, if you have like 5 devices, you can rearrange this data on a sequence. So the master PLC will have 1 connection optimized for these 5 nodes, which will minimize, as we said, the communication load on the CPU or the master on the network as well. That's it for this night. Have a good night.